Hey there, this is Kristie with KristieMathewsOnline.com, and I'm here today with Amanda Ashton-Booth from Scotland, isn't it?
Yes, that's me.
Hi.
Hi.
So, folks, you know, I've been doing these Business Share Fridays with videos with other people in different professions, and today, when I asked Amanda to join us and share a little bit about what she's doing in her business, she had this great idea and said, you know what? Why don't we talk about chronic pain and fibromyalgia? And I thought that was a great idea too, because this is how Amanda and I connected instantly. See, Amanda's over there in Scotland. We are in one of the same companies together, and somewhere along the line, we've just kind of connected, and our general or mutual connection is with fibromyalgia, and it's just amazing. We've had developed a great friendship, and here we are today wanting to share some of our experiences with this condition and how we're dealing with it. And maybe it might help you too, or help somebody else that you know. So Amanda, thanks for being here. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's
It's
good to be here.
it's hard hanging yourself out there, for everybody to learn maybe, something that we kind of hide from others.
Hmm.
So my question for you is, what inspired you to want to talk about this today? I mean, you could have easily talked about business, but um, why don't you tell
Well,
everybody why that came up?
there's lots of people that are talking about business and general business stuff, but really, I feel that fibromyalgia, a lot of people are sitting in the dark when it comes to fibromyalgia, and other related chronic illnesses as well, chronic pain related illnesses. Um, Now, when people are diagnosed with fibromyalgia, first of all, it's a long, lengthy process, and then you have the diagnosis, and then the doctors just kind of leave you to figure it out for yourself, which makes people seriously isolated. And there's not enough people out there that are out there and have the condition that are able to be strong enough to speak up, and share things that are useful. I'm very strong in the no woe me's, just be strong about it, get on, don't sit and mope about it, try and look for solutions. Um,
I got a question for you. Because you're in Scotland, you're in the UK, right?
yeah.
So I know healthcare is run a little bit different over there than it is here. So does your healthcare provide options for like pain education and uh, ways to teach people how to deal with their conditions in other ways other than medication?
Good question. Very controversial as well to a lot of people. Really, if I'm honest, I could speak about this all day. Um, I know that the US, like on this, I was hoping you would speak about a little bit about this, because the US is actually recognised as a condition, and people that have it really bad can collect benefits for it. However, if I was to take a really bad turn and I was to go to the doctor, and even get a sick note, and then go to the benefit system, they would put you through this long, lengthy process of being bombarded with questions, and these questions don't cover what us with fibromyalgia
Right,
actually go through. They see you because you look okay,
right,
you look on the outside okay. They're like, you can walk, you can talk, so you can work. And the
exactly.
reality of it is, I tried to carry on working until my very last abilities, to the extent where I got asked to leave a job because I wouldn't admit that I was struggling. The kind of jobs that I was able to do were grafting jobs, so chambermaid. Now I remember finishing up last in chambermaiding tasks, and all the time being sweating,
Right.
face bright red, in absolute agony, and I ended up losing that job. Now, and you can't really go on benefits to be helped with it. The doctors, you scream out for help. The they might send you to a dietitian, or to physio. Physio does nothing. I'm sorry, no offense, guys that are in physio, but it really, they
Sometimes
try
it makes it worse.
It's all the things that you can do at home, really, and
Right.
that you're very aware of. They will throw medications at you. That's the first port of call. Here's some antidepressants, because you do get depression with it. And here's some antidepressants. Here's another tablet to solve that symptom that you've got because you're taking those antidepressants. And it's just a long process. So yeah, that's my answer for that one. I could keep going, but I'm going to cut it down a little bit.
Well, we have some similarities because, I think I'm about, 15, 20 years maybe older than Amanda. And I got to that point to where I just couldn't work anymore. I would have good days and bad days, but the work world doesn't allow you to work on your good days and take days off when you have bad days. And the bad days were outnumbering the good days. And I started making a lot of mistakes and just doing things that were so uncharacteristic for me that I had to step back and say, enough, just enough. And I went through that grueling process. We have it here too. Took over 3.5 years to get benefits. But luckily, fibromyalgia has been recognized here, and it has been recognized in the disability system too, which is a godsend. Because I know people that have been dealing with this for 30 years that were trying to get disability and it just wasn't happening, and they were completely, bedbound by the time the effects of the condition just, wiped them out so much. So another thing, that I think is really interesting, it says medical research has shown fibromyalgia is triggered by some sort of previous trauma, whether mentally, physically, or both. Is that your experience as well?
In a huge way, actually. I won't go into the whole story because I'd be here all century.
Right, and share what you're comfortable with. Yeah.
I have got a website where I've got my the basics of my story written out. But I was in care. I was in foster system. I was pillar closed. I was bullied at school, and then when I left, I had my finger on that self-destruct button. There was no place in society for me when I had been so damaged as a child.
Right.
I think that had a huge effect on me. I recall just a couple of years back, my friend saying to me, because people ask me how long I've had this for, and I say, well, I was diagnosed officially in 2011. And my friend said to me, she said, it was 2 or 3 years ago, she goes, Amanda, I think that you have always had this for as long as I remember. When you were 16, because we met when we were 16 in hostels, so we met together and got a strong bond. But she says, I always had a sore back, and I was always in pain, I was always complaining, and I was always ill. And the only difference was I was like binge drinking, and I wasn't going to doctors, so it wasn't kind of recognised and brought to attention properly. Right. But I do believe it stems right back.
That's interesting, and thanks for sharing that. Those memories can take you back to some unpleasant times. I have some similar stuff. I was bullied as a kid. I had a very abusive brother, and I went through a lot of physical trauma that way. And then I had a head-on collision when I was, 36, 37 years old, and that knocked me for a loop. And that, I think, kind of defined something was wrong, something was going on that wasn't right. And but I was still pretty active and was able to keep it under control, and I didn't even want to believe the diagnosis when doctor says, you may have fibromyalgia, and I'm going, no, I don't believe in it. And it wasn't until our office building burned down in 2007, and that was both an emotional and physical train wreck, that I instantly, that day, that next morning, I woke up with brain fog, and it lasted for about 5 years, and the pain hasn't gone away. So, it does. There's something that I think that happens in our uh, the memory of our cells, and well, actually, a little bit about what Dr. Joe teaches, and about how we wire our brains with memories and things like that. So, do you take any medication to control your symptoms now?
I stopped taking medication last year, and it
Good
was
for
about the
you.
middle of last year. I have, and admittedly, I have had a couple of blips over this last couple of months where I've taken a couple of painkillers last couple of months, but that's because winter's kicked in, and
Right.
I've had the struggles, and then I've had a bit of stress going on, so I was feeling the effects, but I just went completely cold turkey. Wasn't the easiest moment going cold turkey, but I feel alive for it.
Yeah.
You wouldn't believe, although I've still got brain fog, um, you wouldn't believe how worse I was on medication.
Oh,
A lot
sure.
worse.
Especially
A
if it's
lot.
not the right stuff. What kind of medication? Was it a pain medication?
I was on and off antidepressants since I
Okay.
was in my mid-teens, so since basically childhood. I was on and off them, and I was on anti-seizure medication,
Oh, yeah.
gabapentin.
Yeah.
That was to stop the twitches, which is quite funny because it turns out that when I was complaining about those twitches, which baffles my brain back to the doctors, when I was complaining about those twitches after being put on it, the antidepressants that I was on for quite a long time, and they says it was nothing to do with that tablets. I looked further into it, but that's one of the symptoms.
Right. Yeah.
So for years I had those twitches, and then they put me on the gabapentin to stop the twitches, where I just needed to come off the initial pills. But then I ended up on taking the tramadol,
Oh, yeah.
and also some anti-inflammatories. I can't remember the name of it. It's for when a lot of sports people take them.
Like ibuprofen or
No, it's an actual one you have to be prescribed. It starts with D, I think. There goes a fast thought. Can't remember.
It will come
the name
up.
of it.
That's okay. It will come back. It's all right.
Yeah.
Our viewers understand. It's okay.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that you mentioned that your doctor's given you tramadol. You see, when I was first, but I did have a neck injury, so that caused some nerve pain, and they were giving me opioids for that. And it got to be a point to where I was feeling like a criminal, because to get the pain medication, I had to pee in a cup and prove to my doctor that I was only taking what was prescribed. And I understand why they were doing that, but then yet I didn't do anything wrong. I got injured, but I was feeling like I had been going through something that court-ordered people go through. And I just found that was just so demoralizing. And after a few years, they went over to tramadol, and there was still a stigma attached to that within the medical profession, because even though it's a derivative of an opioid, you don't get the psychological effects of it. So really, I can't
You
see.
still, with tramadol, you still get, woo, I know I
Yeah,
do, woo,
I had
you know.
I had no effects. It was like, really? So
Well,
that's
I never
interesting to
used
hear
to
your
get those
perspective.
effects.
What
I
was
never
that?
used to get those effects.
Okay,
It's because I'm not used to them anymore. Those couple of times I blipped, I got that effect from them. So I think to
good
myself,
point.
well, I was taking them all that time. If this is
Right.
what it's doing to me now, what was it doing to me then?
Oh my gosh. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And it is, it's kind of a process, like to eliminate one layer after another of potions and pills and things like that to try until you finally get to a point of just tolerating it and implementing maybe other modalities. And leads me to my next question is, how do you handle, uh, how does working from home help with the devastating effects of fibromyalgia? Are there positive benefits for working at home with this condition?
Well, I still do a little bit of relief work,
Okay.
which is in a homeless accommodation place, which it isn't heavy duty work.
Right.
So I still do a little bit, but most of the time I am at home. I am working from my desktop, or on my couch, wherever I feel more comfortable, depending on the day. Um, I It helps me a great deal because of obviously all the jobs that I was doing before, and they were really heavy duty. I just couldn't cope with them. I couldn't
Right.
do them. I wasn't able to do them. It's not that I didn't want to or I didn't have it in me, because I was pushing to do these jobs. I mean, sometimes I was doing like a 50-hour week,
Mm.
and I was working in kitchens. I was doing cleaning. I was doing catering. I was doing all sorts of things. But there just comes a point of time where you need to realize, I'm not able to do this, so I need to adjust my life in such a way that I can have the best quality of life, and be able to crack on and earn a living as well. And online, um, the sky's the limit.
Yeah,
You know
it
this.
really
The
is.
sky is the limit. You can create an empire of whatever your vision is. I mean, it's just absolutely impeccable. It's changed my life.
Yeah.
Absolutely changed me. A year ago, complete shell of what I am now. Complete shell. I would never be doing this. What we're doing right
Yeah.
now. I would never be doing this a year ago.
Me either. Yeah.
It's so good for the confidence, and so good for you. Sorry,
Oh,
I'm gonna
that's
have to
okay.
get up and let him out.
My dogs are out there playing. So.
This bit's gonna be edited.
No problem. So,
Okay.
and I agree, I don't know about you, but I was just talking to my husband about this morning, and it's that, what has this opportunity to work online been, what's been the positive? And I think when you finally hit rock bottom and say, I can't do this anymore, and if you've had a very productive life and had a lot of things going on, that's very demoralizing. And you start beating yourself up and think that you're, at least I was thinking I was a loser and all sorts of things. And then I found this way online, and it allowed me to go ahead and do the things that the alternative ways of taking care of our condition, like pacing, getting rest, that type of thing, which is probably more effective than medication,
Mm-hmm.
and still be able to build a brand and build a business online. That really, people don't really see this going on with you. They don't know that you've been absent for the day or for 2 or 3 days, because it really doesn't matter in this world, and of the world of internet marketing. And that is just so empowering. I think it just, for me, it allowed me to be able to dream again and
Mm-hmm.
not give up on those things. And
It
just because,
takes a bit of the stress away,
yes, it does.
but it's also the the biggest part of the community we're a part of, especially. Um, the people around us are very empowering people, and
Oh,
they
yes.
are they are so uplifting.
Yes, they are.
And whereas sometimes, I'm sure a lot of the viewers will understand this as well as you will, not always everybody around you at home gets it.
True.
They don't get it. So to have this power
Right.
and force of people that understand, and what's even more amazing, I've got you and a couple other people that's online that also understand the fibromyalgia part of it as
Right.
well.
Yeah.
You know, so it just,
It
the
is a
eyes
special
just
bond.
open up
Yeah.
completely. Your eyes are opened up, you're full of positivity, and when things might be rough at home, you turn on that computer and you smile,
Yes.
because there's always somebody that said something nice to you, somebody that
Right.
you've helped, and you know, because you in yourself, you need help, you know,
Right.
and although we don't like to admit it, because we're the kind of people that don't like to admit that
Right.
we need help, and I think I found my way out. My way out is helping others.
Yes.
It gives me the power back because I am more capable. I'm able for something.
Right.
I'm not powerless. I'm full of
Exactly.
power.
You know, it doesn't define who we are. You know, it's Amanda who does all these other things and happens to have fibromyalgia too.
Yeah.
And that's just the best way to be able to live with this whole thing. You know, just to piggyback on that, you had tell us how you are aligning yourself with an online education platform. I'm reading my question, and the various number of Facebook groups and live events that have helped you to cope with your condition.
Okay, so self-development, personal and self-development is huge.
Yes.
My number one is mindset.
Right.
My number one on everything is mindset. I mean, I've actually got a dilemma in my head, like now that there is a company event, and I'm choosing whether to go to that company event and spend a hell of a lot of money on that,
Right.
where it would entail traveling this year, or saving money to go to an event, i.e. Tony Robbins, which is something that's going to work on the mind, because what's the point in the business side of things if your head isn't in the right
That's
place?
true.
So I've been swaying this options, but I think I'm more to the side of, well, Tony Robbins, of
Right.
course.
Right.
Who
could go wrong with Tony Robbins?
Things like watching webinars and everything online, and positive ones,
Right.
watching TED Talks are huge
Yes.
for me. I've been huge on my TED Talks. I love my TED Talks.
Yes.
I can just, it doesn't matter what the subject is, you can find a TED Talks on that subject, and there's so many inspiring and uplifting stories there, which help you boost through. The sky's the limit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I use that phrase a lot because it is, the sky's the limit.
You know, a thought just occurred to me. You know, we met through affiliate marketing, and for our viewers who are not familiar with what that is, it is not a business opportunity. It is not a network marketing company. It is affiliate marketing is when you find a product that you like, you want to endorse it and so forth, and then you market that product. And you have a one-to-one relationship with the customer. There is no residual income. So that is how that worked. Now, my question around that is, I have noticed that people who are in network marketing companies per se have a lot of stress to build, 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 build. And I know you've been around this industry more than I have. What would you recommend to somebody who is in a network marketing company, who has a team leader who's doing what they need to do? What they're supposed to do is drive that team and build them up. Is that a good place for somebody with fibromyalgia? And if it is, well, maybe I shouldn't ask that question. How would somebody with fibromyalgia handle that situation when they're getting that kind of undue pressure? Because we're very sensitive. People with fibromyalgia sense those things, and we get stressed out about it. So I'm just kind of curious about your thoughts on that.
For me, I love to help people.
Yes.
I love that. That's what keeps me
I
bouncing along.
know. You are wonderful.
Thank you. It makes me bounce along, happy as Larry, helping people. And it's what I feel distraught and in a dark place when nobody comes to me. Actually, in the team, if they don't come to me and ask me for help, my worst fear is knowing that somebody needs help and all they need to do is ask me,
Right.
and they don't do it. So for me personally, not everybody is the same as me though. I just think being there for the people and
Right.
being there to answer their questions, guiding them in the right way. Don't be fake, be true, and just carry on being yourself, you know.
Right.
And in all honesty, when you're building a team, there's bad ways, but you can't really get it wrong if you're doing it for the goods.
Right.
You know, you can't really I've lost my train of thought. Sorry.
That's okay. I think if I may add in here, I'm thinking what you're trying to say is, as a leader, we need to be focusing more on the needs of our team rather than our own personal needs, because those personal needs, business-wise, are going to be met just by taking care of your team. So it's not all about you, even though you're in this business to make a living, but this isn't all you. This isn't your own persona. You're out there to help other people.
Lifting
people up. Because that comes back, like 10 times. It's just putting out good stuff to the world. So we're getting near the end. We're, we've nearly a half an hour. This is great. Thank you so much. You started a fibromyalgia Facebook group. Tell me a little bit about that, and what's the criteria to join your group?
Well, there's various people in there. Initially, how this started out is I invested some money in getting an office locally, because I knew there was a lot of people that were suffering, and they were struggling to cope, and there was a major flow of people in my local area. Now, obviously, that's a hard thing to set up because not everybody with this condition wants to get up and go out.
Right.
So I had the issue of putting this money into this group locally, and nobody was turning up.
Yeah.
So I set up the group because I will not be defeated. And
that's for sure.
I have a passion for everybody to work together in a group. Groups only work if people work together,
right.
You know. It has to work with people working at it and sharing, and you know, otherwise it's just like, what's the point, you know? Now the whole aim is to find solutions. Finding solutions to that are of a more natural nature,
right?
You know, guiding people and keeping people, lifting them up again, you know, lifting them up, and advising them on the best methods. I mean, I've got lots and lots of ideas for this group. It's just a case of getting people together, and getting them to interact with it. I mean, once I've got people in this group, setting up hangout calls, private hangout calls with them, and lots of people communicating. So, i.e., the local group didn't work, but I mean, if they didn't want to leave their house, they can do it online if they've got a webcam, or through their mobile phone. So I thought, right, okay, we'll do it this way. And everybody else that's in it to be sharing things that's working for them as well. You know, they've maybe tried something and it's worked for them. You know, it's also though going to be it's also a secure group as well. It's a protected group. There's no big selling in this group or anything like that. I've kept this group separate from my business side of things. This is separate.
This is just totally community support.
I've got a couple of doctors. I've got a couple of doctors that are in the group, and I have a life coach who is added into the group as well. And then obviously people with fibromyalgia and other illnesses that are related, chronic pain fatigue illnesses, you know, because fibromyalgia, I will say that there's not a clarity that it is fibromyalgia, as weird as that sounds, and as odd as that sounds, because when people are looking at being diagnosed with fibromyalgia, it's a lot of symptoms on this paper, where if you have a certain amount out of this whole host of symptoms, if you fall under a bracket of certain amount, then you're classed as fibromyalgia. It's like you're just put into a bracket. Well, you've got that many symptoms from there, but there's so many similar things. So, you know, they don't know enough yet and everything. So this as well is, I'm hoping to be able to get somebody and people involved that can help collate information. Me, I'm not that structured because of the fibromyalgia. So we're trying to organise putting things together. I have the ideas, I have the plan that I want this to happen, but I need to find people that can work with me to do this. So if anybody watching this has a keen interest and would like to get involved in this and helping, if you either have fibromyalgia or an illness related, or you work in the field, then please do get in touch. Please do, because you can help us out a great deal with this.
In other words, come out of the shadows. We know you're there. We see you online. We talk with you. I'm getting some feedback. I don't know where that's coming from. But we see you. We hear you talking about the issues. So come on out. Let yourself be known. Come into a safe place and share and maybe help some other people. You know, I'm going to go a little long on this because having just talked about this, can you tell me what are you using any natural remedies or supplements to help you that might be helpful to others? Now, of course, we're not doctors. We got to put this disclaimer out there. This is just based on our own personal experience from a lot of trial and error. So having said that, do you have some sort of regimen that's working for you to help turn the volume of the pain down?
I've tried a lot. I've tried a lot of things. Now I am completely natural. I am a hot water bottle in the evening. On my
I've talked
back
with you when you were doing that.
Obviously, me being a lady, when it comes to that time of the month, I have one on my back and my belly, so I'm sweating it out. So the heat. Also, if you use a heat lotion, I was using a certain heat lotion, but it's been taken off the market because of something in it. But just the deep heat, I've tried other ones that don't work, but the real deep heat, not the fuddy-duddy makeups on it, but the real deep heat cream. If you put that on just before bed and then put the hot water bottle on top of it, it kind of makes it like burn and throb. It's great. It feels absolutely amazing. If I could jump into a bath of that stuff, I really would. I think it'd be dangerous. Don't try that at home, guys.
You may get that burny stuff in places you don't want it to be.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, you know what, I've tried a lot of things too. Recently, I started taking a high quality fish oil. That's known for reducing inflammation. And I did notice a slight difference after a couple of weeks. And for about 2 months now, I've been taking a tincture called Adrenal Support. I wish I had it here in front of me. I'm sorry about that, guys. But it is online, and if you want to know where I get that, just private message me. But it's a little tincture that how I got to getting there is that my dad went to a naturopathic doctor. She created a tincture for him that has most of the same herbs that are in this tincture you can buy online. And it doesn't interfere with any medications that I'm taking or anything like that. Those have probably been the two big ahas, other than just pacing, resting when you need it, stretching, walking, that type of thing. So I hope it helps. So Amanda, we should probably wrap this thing up. Is there anything else that you want to share?
A quick question first.
Sure.
Do you have any history in your family
Of,
with myalgia?
oh yeah,
Any history?
my dad grew up in a very abusive home, and I see what he's dealing with now that he's in near 80 years old. And I can tell just by what he talks about, his pain patterns. This is something he had from a very, very young age. But he was a professional athlete, so it didn't really hit him really until now in his later years where he's really, really feeling it. He's fortunate because he was golden up until he was about 70. So, but he is plagued with the fatigue, the anxiety, the fog brain, the overall weird, funky body pain, that type of thing. And of course, because he's a man from that generation, he won't do anything else to treat pain.
Oh yeah.
Right. So
I
yeah,
have
it does
family
run in the
on
family.
both my mum and my dad's side, both sides. I have relatives that go back, you know,
Right.
aunts, second cousins, all sorts on both sides of the family. So they did say at one point that it was not hereditary.
Well, I read something that they have in medical records that this is going back as far as the 1800s. Now, it wasn't called fibromyalgia, but they had people complaining of these various pain patterns that are now called fibromyalgia. It's very interesting. It's been around for a couple hundred years.
Was that did you see that post that I shared, the nightingale's
It
disease?
might have come from that information. I don't remember where I got it from, but it's something I read online. It might have been from you. I
Yeah,
just
and there's
it was like I was blown away from that because, I
what's
think,
the lady nightingale?
I'm not sure.
I
But
can't
what's
tell.
weird about that, I think in a way it might debunk some of the environmental causes of fibromyalgia. If you go back a couple hundred years, the toxins and all the things that we're now exposed to wasn't happening then. So I'm sure environment adds to it, but I'm not quite sure. Maybe it's just in our DNA, kind of like
Hmm.
we have dormant cancer cells in our body. Everybody does, and all it takes is one to go rogue, and maybe that's the thing that's happening with fibromyalgia. I don't know. It's such a fascinating subject, especially when you're living with it. You want to try to just figure out how to get rid of it. So, Amanda, thank you so much. This has been great. And, when we first talked about doing this, we really hope that it helps our viewers, some of our viewers, like you, who's hiding in the shadows. So come on out, come and join us. And Amanda, why don't you let us know how people can get a hold of you, and if they have any more questions, want to learn some of the other things that you're doing, let us have it.
It's really easy to get a hold of me because I am one of a kind. You just need to look up my name, Amanda Ashton-Booth,
Right.
on the internet and in Facebook, and I'm the only one you'll find. So if you just look up my name, you'll find my website, which is amandaashtonbooth.com. Don't forget the hyphen, Ashton-Booth, um, where you'll be able to read more about my story that I mentioned earlier. And hit me up on Facebook, just um, I'm open to speaking to anybody.
Thank you. And folks, Amanda is just, you are amazing. You are an angel, a godsend. The woman just gives so much of herself. So if you happen to cross paths with Amanda, go ahead and look at her Facebook page, her Instagram presence, private message her, and get into the Facebook group because we'd really love to see you there and get it to grow. So anyway, folks, thank you so much for joining us. Hang with me for just a moment, Amanda, and I'll go ahead and end the recording. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye.
Bye now.